Hello, my name is Bliss Kuntz and I am the Research and Instruction Librarian here at Union College. I want to share some information with you about some best practices when doing database searches and looking for resources for a paper you may need to write. Let's start by thinking about a topic. I'm assuming at this point that you already have your topic. Maybe it's a specific one that you have to do, or it's one that your teacher has allowed you to choose yourself. Now let's say that I was going to research something like Athena, who's the goddess of wisdom in Greek mythology. Where would I first go to look for information about Athena? If I'm like most people, I'd probably go straight to Google. So let's type in Athena in this search engine and see what we get and talk a little bit about some of the restrictions for Google. So if we use the term Athena, you can see we have 171 million results for that keyword Athena. And this can be very daunting if you are looking for something in particular for research. Number one, your instructor or your professor may require something like something from a journal in particular, or a book, or a peer-reviewed article. And in that case, there's really no way in Google for you to be able to narrow down this search so that there aren't as many hits. Something else about Google that can be a challenge for research is that anyone can publish anything on the internet. These may be blogs, it may be information that isn't really academic, and there's no way to narrow that down as well, which can be a really big challenge. What we'd like to show you to do is to use our databases in the Union College Library website. It may be that the topic that you're using, you can find some very helpful information on Google. If it's a news story, if it's something to do with public health, there are sites on Google, obviously, that have some really good information, especially government websites and things like that. But it may be that the topic that you've chosen, it's not helpful to use Google at all, and so we want to show you how to use our library resources. So if you start at the library webpage, there are a couple of ways that you can get to the library website. If you scroll down to the bottom, that's one way that you can do it, or this academics tab up here has a link to the library. Here's our library website. It's probably not that you want to use a catalog search. That's just for books, and for most research topics in college, you don't want to use books necessarily unless it's required. Usually what you want is an article, a peer-reviewed journal that has an article that's pertinent to whatever that you're studying. So we're going to use the databases for that. If you click on the database icon, you can see that Union subscribes to quite a few databases. Now, a database takes the time to look at information such as journal articles, news articles, and things like that, and they compile them by subject. This is something that Google doesn't do, but libraries subscribe to databases so that they can have this conglomerate of resources in particular subjects. Because we have 94 databases, you might think, well, I'm not sure which one to use, which is a valid point. Something that can be helpful, depending on your topic, is to use this subject pull-down menu here. You can see we have 8 different databases that we have deemed as academic services related. If you go down the list, nursing has 21 databases that are recommended for that topic. PA program, religion. So some of them have been categorized in different topics that can be very helpful for you. I do want to point out, in particular, if you know the name of the database you want to use, you can use this alphabet here at the top to get to it quickly. I want to point out, in particular, our Credo reference database. Credo is relatively new for Union. We've had it about a year. And it can be very helpful, especially if you're brainstorming at the very beginning. Maybe you have a topic, but you are not sure what question to ask about that topic. So let's look at what our results will get for using Athena in our Credo reference. Some topics, some subjects that you search for in Credo will have a topic page. Not every single one will, but there are quite a few that will. And you can see that Athena has a topic page. On the topic page, there will be some general information, stuff like, encyclopedia resources, maybe some other related topic pages. If you were thinking Athena, but then want to look into ancient Greece, there's a topic page, a link there as well. But I did want to point out the mind map. Mind maps can be really helpful if you're trying to see the relationships between different topics and subjects. So here's Athena in the middle here, because that's what we typed in for our keyword search. But you can see there's also related to Athena is Greek mythology, the Parthenon, Gordon, Zeus, and depending on what type of paper you were writing, it might be good to see those connections. So let's see, if you click on Greek mythology, Athena is still here, but now you've got Greek mythology and the added subtopics of maybe the Trojan War, Dionysus, Iliad, etc. So that can be really helpful if you're kind of brainstorming about a topic and then need help on a subtopic. And you can see over here on the side, you've got encyclopedia information and all those different topics. And those would give you a nice general view of, some background information for what you're looking at. If we go back to our databases, though, I am recommending, especially when you start your research, to cast a wide net as far as the number of databases you use, and your restrictions should be limited, because you want to see if the topic you're looking for has plenty of resources, or if you're going to have a hard time finding resources. So I'm going to recommend that you use EBSCOhost multiple database search. So if you go to E here, EBSCOhost here has a multiple database search. For most databases, if you're looking for something in particular and you know your subject, you might search a database and not find what you're looking for. In that case, you were probably going to go to a different database and do the same search, which can take some time. And finding articles is very experimental when you're doing searches. If you use something like EBSCOhost multiple database search, though, you can search multiple databases, obviously, at the same time, which is really helpful if you want to cast that first broad net. So for EBSCOhost, we're going to choose a couple of databases to use, not a lot actually, for something like Athena. I am going to use Academic Search Premier. That's kind of the Walmart of databases. It doesn't have anything super specific, but it does have a lot of variety. I'm going to use ATLA too. This is our religion database, and it might be helpful talking about world religions or the relationship between Greek mythology and maybe some concepts in Christianity. I thought that might be a good idea. They're all in alphabetical order, but if you look, you might not be familiar, but something like CINAHL, that's our nursing database. ERIC is for education. So all these databases have particular topics that they really target, unless it's a general one like Academic Search Premier. I'm also going to highlight humanities so that we can use Athena in that one as well. We're going to scroll to the bottom here. There's many, many, many that you could include, many that are medical and history, if that was the topic you were using. And if you push continue here at the bottom, now we're to our search page, and we're using, you can see it will show all. We're using our ATLA database, humanities index, etc. Now we're going to type in Athena, just like we did in Google, and see what kind of results we get. For Athena, we only get 5,325 hits, which is a lot more manageable, obviously, than 117 million. But 5,000 is still a lot if you're going to try and look at each of these and narrow it down by what's pertinent to your topic or not. Some things I want to point out, though, is that even though you have this many, that's still a lot, 5,000 to be able to get through. You have some ways to refine your results, which is really, really helpful. You can limit it to full text. I don't usually do that because I like to use interlibrary loan if it's possible, and we'll talk about that later. It may be if you're using something like a science topic that you need a publication that is recent. So you can use this scale here to limit your search to something that's published relatively recently. I'm not going to do that for something like Athena. But in particular, I do want to point out to you this option here at the bottom, and it's called subject. And this is really something that Google doesn't offer, but that a database is really good at. So somebody has gone through and categorized all of these articles by topic, not just keyword. When we did our search before, a keyword search just pulls that word, and it could be from the title, or it could be somebody's name that's listed in that article. So the article may not pertain at all to Athena, the goddess of, of wisdom. It could be something totally different. So narrowing it by subject will really help. If we look here, Athena, Greek deity, is marked as one of the subjects that's available, and there are only 67 article hits for that. So we're going to click on that so we can narrow it down quite a bit. So we've only got 67 results for Athena. Now, I do want to show you a couple of the resources that you have in something like a results list. So as we see in number 1, women in the ancient Athenian context from ecofeminist perspective, that already sounds interesting. But you'll notice there's a difference between number 1 and number 2, which is gods and corporations. Number 2 has a PDF full text option here. So if we click on this article, you see that there is a PDF full text available. And with this, you can download this PDF to your computer. You could print it off. There are other tools over here on the side. You can make a permalink. Maybe you don't want a copy of it right now, but it might be helpful in the future. You can just save the permalink so that you can always get back directly to this article. You can email it to yourself. You could use their citation tool. Your professor may, require MLA or APA, and those are all here for you to use. You can just copy and paste them onto your Works Cited page. Now, if we go back and look at our first result, though, full text is here and available. Women in ancient Athenian context from an ecofeminist perspective, though, Union does not have access to this article directly. We don't have a copy of the PDF that we could share with you. However, you see here that you can request an interlibrary loan, which means that we loan materials to other libraries and they loan materials to us. Now, if it's something like an article, it doesn't take long at all. If you want a book, it can take a couple of weeks to get something like a book from another library. But if you're requesting something like an article, they can pretty quickly just send us a PDF and then we can email that to you. So if you click on request an interlibrary loan, there will be some information that you will have to include, such as your name, because we want to be able to send this article to you, your email address and phone, and your library card number, etc. But you'll see that down here at the bottom, all of the information for that article has already been populated in this form. So it makes it really easy if you're going to be using interlibrary loan. If it's a topic, the topic you're using is super general, and you're finding plenty of resources, then you could do something like narrow it by full text here and not even worry about interlibrary loan. But if you're doing something that's super obscure and you're having a really hard time finding really good quality resources, I would consider interlibrary loan because it can be very quick. Okay, so that's some about our databases. Now, if you were searching about not just Athena, but maybe her relationship to something like, I don't know, wisdom, and you want those two in particular to be together, you can narrow it down with these ands, or exclude some if you say or not. I also want to point out to you, I'm going back to our library website. I wanted to point out another resource that might be helpful for you. So if you scroll down a little bit here on our library website for Union College, you'll see this LibGuides icon here. Now, a LibGuide is put together by our librarians, and they take the time to put together lots of different information on a particular topic. So you can see here we have art and graphic design, biology. Some of these are for classes and some of these are just for topics. There's another biology, business. We're going to look, though, at the literature. That applies most to our topic of Athena. So if we look at the literature LibGuide, you can see information about databases that would be helpful to use. We use the Humanities Index today. You could also use the literary reference or JSTOR. Those are great as well. So it'll give you an idea of some of the databases that would be good for a literature topic. Then there's also multidisciplinary databases that are more general, and you see Credos here at the bottom. There are some books that are recommended. If this was a LibGuide for a class, it would be the professor recommends them. But in this case, it is what the librarian thought that might be helpful for something like a literature topic. We have print books here that are actually at Union College, and we have ebook options as well. And something like a LibGuide is updated all the time. Well, not all the time, probably once a year, to update websites and things like that. Recommended websites, which might be helpful when they got descriptions there. References that might be helpful for something like a literature topic. And then there's citation resources as well, so that if you need help with a particular style that your paper has to be written in, you have a way to get in some information on that too. The last thing I want to point out before I say goodbye are these methods of contacting the Union College staff. Right now, there's no link on the main library website to get help, which will be changing this summer. But if you go into the LibGuides, there's a way that you can ask for help. You can request research help, which is called a RAP session if you're near campus or on campus. You can send text or call or email us. And if you do it through this website, we have somebody that's linked in all the time and answering questions. So let's say you had a topic and you weren't sure which database to use, or you just wanted a recommendation on how to use something, or more information on how to use a particular resource, we'd be happy to help. Well, I think that's the end of this presentation. I hope that it was very helpful, and if you have any questions, please contact me.